man, we have one of the funniest things I'm ever going to discuss on this podcast, in my opinion. NBA players involved in fraud. Now, for those not familiar, there's been 18 former NBA players were charged with attempting to defraud the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan out of nearly $4 million. I'll read the defendants real quick. Terrence Williams, Alan Anderson, Anthony Allen, Shannon Brown, Will Bynum, Ronald Glenn, Big Baby Davis, I didn't know his name was Ronald, Christopher Douglas Roberts, who I played with, Melvin Elijah, Mario Moon, Darius Miles, Milton Palacio, Ruben Patterson, I played with also, Eddie Robinson, Gregory Smith, Sebastian Telfair, Charles Watson Jr., Antoine Wright, and Anthony Roden. Anthony Allen, for those not familiar, would be Tony Allen. Allen's wife also, Desiree Allen, was named as a defendant. Have you guys ever seen a more bonkers attempt at frauding something that doesn't even have that much money in the first place?
No, but my initial thought is, and I want to get into this because I thought about writing about this topic generally. It's very man bites dog because other people are trying to defraud NBA players all the time, like to an extent that would blow people's minds. And I think, Andrew, you'd have more insight into that than a lot of people would. So it's just funny to see the tables turn and it's the NBA players doing the defrauding. That was my initial thought.
That's such a Strauss take. It's so fucking awesome. That's why we get you on, man. That's so out of left field, but I like it.
But hey, let's be fucking honest, all right? The characters that are involved in this, it ain't exactly Ocean's 11. Let's just be fucking honest. This is as well thought out as a Mark Jackson fucking huddle or a Three Stooges episode when they're trying to rob the bank for the 88th time. All right?
It's a Coen Brothers movie, this whole scene.
Sure.
And Terrence Williams, central to the whole thing. I felt very old when I read that he was 34 in the indictment or whatever the legal papers were. 34 years old, because I remember I saw him on draft night. I actually wrote about it. It was the only draft night, or the first draft night I was at when I was working for the NBA in PR, funny enough. And I'm sitting there, I'm in this big ballroom, and just milling about. There's food and, hors d'oeuvres, whatever, and the players are passing through who've gotten drafted. Terrence Williams, I swear to God, I'm not saying this like metaphorically. He hops over to me. It's a fairly large room. He hops like a bunny. Like he hops, like hop over to me. I'm just some fucking kid in my early 20s sweating through my suit with a headset on. My job was to get Ricky Rubio through interview to interview that night. And so Terrence Williams hops up to me and he looks at me and he goes, "Hi, do you live in New York? I'm Terrence Williams. And I was just drafted by the New Jersey Nets." And then he hops away. It just hops out of the room. And that was my interaction with the guy. And now, today, he's at the center of a criminal conspiracy. It's, what a character.
Hey, did it look like he needed $237,321 worth of dental work back then? Or,
well,
it's just something...
I got to say, it was a great smile. It seemed like he was not needing any help in that department. But no, sure. he hopped like a bunny. I say this, I feel like you need the image in your head, and there was no reason to do this. I was by myself. I don't get it. I don't understand. I guess he was excited about getting drafted, but it's so sad, guys. So sad to go from that moment of you're drafted in the NBA, you've got your whole career ahead of you. You are on cloud nine to the point where you're just hopping towards random people and talking about how great your life is, to you're scrounging, you're scraping, you're defrauding. It's sad, man. It's sad. This NBA story is hilarious and it makes me sad.
It is definitely very sad. And for the people out there, I'm in this health fund, so I know the ins and outs of it, right? So
oh, wait a second. Fuck Substack. Like, come on, hook us up, man.
Hook you up. Yeah. So basically, the NBA collectively bargained many moons ago with the players in the league that a portion of our salary, essentially tax-free, goes towards your health and benefit plan, and then the league matches a certain amount. It goes into a pool of money that you use while you're playing. So it's for your family and your children, off-season medical expenses, and then retirement medical expenses. So most players have a few $100,000 in there. I've got a little bit more. It goes by years of service. So I think I've got, 600K sitting in an account that's only for medical expenses for myself, my wife, or my children, I believe, dependents, right? The way it works is they give you a card. You've got a debit card. And you can use this debit card to swipe at any credit card facility for anything medical, right? So you can physiotherapy, dentist, doctor, surgeries, whatever, for yourself, your wife, and your dependents, your kids generally, right? They will sometimes ask for proof if you've swiped at something that looks shady, like if you swipe it. Most of all, if you try to swipe it anywhere out of a medical facility, it generally doesn't work. Somehow it knows. But if you did get through that, they can ask for proof. Would you provide a receipt? The other way to pay for things is to pay for it in cash or on your own credit card yourself, get an itemized receipt, upload it to a portal that we've got access to. You log into that portal, you upload the receipt, you say what it was for, send off the form, and they wire you out the money. And that's what these guys have done, right? And I've done this many a times legally. Obviously, everything was normal. So I've seen invoices before, especially being in Australia. Half the times the card doesn't fucking work because it's from US and blah, blah, blah. So I have to get the receipt. So the receipts are generally pretty, cut dry, obvious receipts. What kills me is that these dudes are writing up their own receipts with spelling mistakes, punctuation errors. Half of them didn't have letterheads on the letter. So it was just a Microsoft Word document saying, hey, Ethan Strauss just got 6 teeth cleaned, $55 per hour plus the caps, blah. Just like,
yeah.
The fact that they've defrauded even who the hell was checking these invoices at the other end is my issue too, because they'd allegedly taken $4 million till someone was like, holy shit, maybe spelling dentist with a C probably doesn't make sense if you're a dentist, right? But that's what's hilarious about it.
I mean, who the fuck was a Sherlock Holmes that took $4 million in receipts to figure out that half of them were written in fucking crayon, that they fucking didn't figure out that maybe this doesn't look right. Maybe it doesn't look right.
So you thought I had to take out of left field, but I think that you've got a take that I'm not seeing other places, which is that it's a players union failure. Or am I reading that wrong?
Well, I think it's a third party that the players union's hired to monitor it, but it does go through the players union. So yeah, a portion of it, obviously people were, fraudulently, putting in invoices, which is illegal, but who the hell is checking this? Is it just someone, I assume in the union that's a family member of Chris Paul's potentially, or someone else's that just got a job to get a job? It's like, how can you not pass that? The best part of this whole thing was the following, that Smith, for example, Greg Smith, who played for the Houston Rockets, submitted claims for root canal crowns that he is alleged to receive during a December 2018 dental procedure in Beverly Hills, California. Travel records, email, and publicly available box scores showed that he was playing professional basketball in Taiwan that week and did not receive root canals in Beverly Hills. If you're going to defraud, at least do it when you're home for the off season. At least do your homework. But to my point, it worked so badly with them doing the bare minimum that they got away with it for so long. They were probably like, hey, shit, I can't spell. I can barely read and write at a legible level. It's working. I'm getting the cash. I'll just keep it up. But to no avail, gentlemen, they got caught.
Yeah. Eventually. I just wonder if they thought about it. I wonder if they thought there's an eventually. I mean, in that case with the Taiwan thing, I'm trying to figure this out. You can claim a family member, right? Could he have conceivably done it in a way where he was using it for a family member in the United States and he just didn't care? I mean,
he could do that, yeah, but I think his name was on the receipt, and the kicker was that the dental procedure was on the same day as numerous other players' dental procedures and was the same teeth. Oh my God. Was the same teeth.
Yeah. It's amazing it went as long as it did. I mean, how much longer do you want to talk about this? I want to get into how you guys are constantly defrauded, because now I kind of wonder, look, this is inexcusable behavior. It's totally idiotic by the guys who did this, obviously. And I'm not trying to make excuses for it, but I do wonder, they are in a world where there's a lot of fraud. I mean, the league is filled with frauds, and I'm amazed how little curiosity the general media has in a story like, oh, Kevin Garnett got defrauded out of $77 million. And it was by the guy who defrauded Tim Duncan out of $7 million. And KG was hugging this guy at the trial when Tim Duncan was trying to, get his money back or have him punished, before the guy bilked KG at a 77 million. And that's just scratching the surface on this whole thing. I mean, these guys are marks from the moment they enter the league. They come in as very young men. Not all, are that savvy. And in many cases, I'm totally spoiling what I'm going to probably write about. You've got a situation where the agent wants to get the money from the player, but he can't rely on the player to actually pay him the money. Guy's young, guy's distracted, guy's not used to doing this, can't rely on it. So the agent is going to set him up with a financial advisor who's going to have access to the money. And that way the agent can get wired the money. So you've got an entire situation where you've got agents hooking up guys with shady financial advisors, and you're just wondering, they're prey the whole time. And I just think it's a bigger general story, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get crazier with Instagram and social media and crypto and all these ways to kind of incentivize guys to part ways with their money. So I just wonder if there's an element of these guys saw that fraud was a way of doing things, and then they thought that they could do it.
Potentially, but the other kicker is there's players that also sign away power of attorney to those people. So I've noticed that a lot because, and I understand the sell. Like a player comes out of college, doesn't know how to do his daily bookkeeping, his daily utilities bills, paying things, blah, 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 which is much easier these days, arguably, with being able to do it online. But even that, if you have enough bills, you can spend a couple hours a week online paying everything if you've got investments and all that kind of stuff. That's one thing. So these guys can then go take out loans on their name. They can move money wherever they want. And the sell is, hey, Joe Blow player, give me power of attorney and you'll have no problems doing any of your daily, time you don't want to waste away from video games and girls and drinking and basketball. That's all you focus on. I'll take care of your utilities, all that. So they need power of attorney. So they get that sell over the line easily, and then holds be known, shit, I have 15 car loans that I don't even own any of those cars or whatever it is. So that's one thing. The other point I'd make, Strauss, is I don't know if it'll all come out. There's a level of shame and embarrassment of guys being defrauded and guys being ripped off where they don't want to come out and talk about it. We saw it in the documentary Broke to an extent, and that was, in my opinion, that was heavily scratching the surface. You've got uncles that start restaurants and bars that players are funding. You've got family members that need XYZ. I had teammates where their family members were traveling to every NBA Finals game or every NBA playoff game, or pretty much every NBA regular season game, and staying in the same hotels as us. Now, these people out there, these are hotels that are $500, $600, $700 a night. They're staying in those rooms in a suite. And I'm like, hang on a second, that guy's only making $3-4 mil a year, or even $5 million, but after taxes, that's $2 million. And then he's got his own house and car, and then they're traveling on his dime. Like, that's not classified as fraud, but they're all the things that you're kind of alluding to. But I just don't think players have that prowess to come out and say, I was ripped off. Don't let this happen to you. It's 9 times out of 10. It's like, I'm a big, masculine man. No one rips me off. So I got ripped off. Just don't tell anyone. Yeah.
And people wonder how, right? How do you not notice? How do you not notice something like $77 million being stolen from you? And if I had to guess without having access to the documents, I think what happens a lot of the time is that you have forged documents. You have fake documents. Why is KG hugging this guy at the trial? Well, maybe it's because this guy shows him his investments, and oh my God, look at the arrow. It's practically vertical. Like you are raking it in. This guy's a genius. He's making me so much money. And when you give up that level of control, it's not just a matter at that point of you not paying attention enough. Just the information you're getting is fake at that point. It goes that deep.
No doubt, Pro. You've heard some horror stories too along your way.
Yeah, shit. When I was with the Celtics, I won't name the guy, but this guy had his AU coach being his financial guy. Paying him like $12,000 a month. I said, and I asked the guy, I said, the fuck does it? First of all, the guy doesn't have a name. He was named after a number. Like that's what they called him. They named him after a number.
Red flag.
Second of all, I said, whoa. I said, so this guy is your financial advisor? I said, what kind of fucking financial advice does this guy give you? He would like wear velour sweatsuits every day as usual, right? So I'm like, this fucking guy, what's he going to tell you? Invest in fucking pumpkins and sell them on October 30th. And then you're going to roll your money over in Christmas trees and sell on December 24th. Get the fuck out of here. I say, come on, man. And then, of course, 5 years later, he ends up suing. Then we had a guy, a couple of clients in Chicago that had a financial guy, again, named, had a weird name, no first name, and they signed power of attorney to this guy. And, for the most part, not all players, but a lot of players, they don't want a regular guy. They don't want a guy that's going to tell them no.
No.
They want a guy who's going to say, yeah, buy that $150,000 chain. Fuck yeah. Go ahead. Instead of the guy going, are you out of your fucking mind? But that's what they want. They just want to keep. And then when they're broke, then they want to sue the guy, or they want to say, what the fuck, da da da. And it's a slippery slope. I've seen it 1,000 times. Guys getting defrauded, guys just signing over a power of attorney. The guy hangs out with them at night, goes to the club, loves them, drinks, this and that, gets some girls, and then signs over shit, and then shit runs amok. Instead of getting the boring guy that's going to put you in an investment and set you up. Like Nazim Muhammad put all his money away most of his career. He lived on minimal money, and now the guy's got millions. Jamal Mashburn, guys like that who invest their money and take care of their money, and they're set. But I would say about 85% of players are going to have financial trouble within 5 years of retirement. I would say upwards of 90. Even with all the literature that's out there, even all the horror stories that are out there, it still continues to happen.
The observation that they don't want a regular guy, I think, is a great observation. I've been noticing there's this guy, Grant Cardone, YouTube celebrity, Instagram celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
And has a bunch of investments in Florida, I think, and I don't know how much money the guy has, but he's become one of these, you almost feel like he's making the money talking about how rich he is kind of guys. And there has been some reporting to suggest when he's crowdsourcing funding for some of these real estate developments that maybe, I want to be careful here because I don't know everything about what's going on, but there might be some reason for suspicion of shadiness. But athletes love him. And he's he did a speech with Magic Johnson, and I've seen him do stuff with Kenny Smith. And when you watch his YouTubes, he's not a regular guy. He's not a dork. He's charismatic. He's cool. He's talking to these guys. He's looking at these like, hey, ballers, like, you want this? You want that? Oh, I got the bird. And he's talking about his private jet, and he's spinning this story for you. And it's such a great little trick in a way, because he's trying to talk about, hey, don't be an idiot with your money. This is how you don't be an idiot, but he's kind of setting you up for the next alleged scam or potential scam where he's saying, hey, I don't spend my money out of my active money or whatever he calls it. I spend it out of my passive income. And my passive income is all the money I rake in with all this rent people pay in these apartments, right? That just kind of accrues into my bank account. You buy a huge building, all these units, 7,000 units, look how much money that is. That's what I do when I'm buying all this dumb shit like this Bentley and this private jet. It's with my passive income. You guys need to spend out of your passive income. And he just makes it sound so easy. Like, yeah, buy a couple buildings, yeah, buy a few apartments, then I get to spend however I want, and I can get that Lamborghini, and I can get that Range Rover, I can get whatever, because I'm just spending out of passive income and it's not real. And guess who's going to show you how to get to the passive income? Guess who's going to tell you how to invest in whatever? It's going to be this guy. And that's what the game is about, I think. Allegedly, again, I don't want to get sued, but I look at that. It doesn't seem right to me when I watch Grant Cardone's videos. But if he wants to be a guest on my podcast, the door is open. He's very charismatic. He's a lot of fun to listen to.
He's he's basically a Tony Robbins of finance, right? Like, he's that kind of guy, up in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Motivates. But the other one you hit, Strauss, is that I think the agents generally have an incentive to not hire a financial guy that's too smart and asking too many questions. They almost have an incentive that, hey, make sure my agent's fee is paid. Make sure the guy's happy if he wants to spend his money. And that's about all you need to do. So some advice I always gave young fellas was try to hire a financial guy that's independent of your agent, because they'll hold each other accountable. And then you want that. You want that little bit of conflict somewhat, the honest conflict of like, hang on a second, why are you letting my guy, why are you telling my guy to buy a Bentley when he's on his min NBA deal for to be a branding influencer NBA player? No, we're just going to focus on this, and then vice versa. Like, hey, why are you paying a 5% agent fee when the rest of the league's playing 3%? So that's a big recommendation I gave to a lot of guys. Try to keep it independent. I got lucky with mine because my guy, I didn't know shit when I came to the league, and thankfully the guy I had as my financial advisor showed up in jeans and tennis shoes and just was an average guy. Like, if he showed up in like a $50,000 suit, I would have been like, hang on a second, how are you paying for that suit if you're a financial guy? How are you driving a Ferrari if you're a financial guy? Like red flag straight away.
Because he's paid out of his passive income, Andrew. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the advice I give, and you want to try to not conflate the two, and that's an incentive that a lot of agents, believe it or not, have. They want as long as their client's paying their agent fee, and the agent's basically telling the financial guy, make sure at the end of all his spending, he's got my 3%. I don't give a shit about anything else. So that's the dirtiness of the game as well.
Well, that's such a great point that the agents have such completely off the books, practically mafia level ethics with what they're doing. And you want to talk about some documentation that might look like it was chicken scratch and written in crayon and everything else. I mean, when it starts out, it might as well be that for the agent, where sometimes they're paying a player to represent them just to keep up appearances. And who the hell knows what else is going on? I mean, I remember the story with Dan Fagan, RIP, former power agent. He sold his agency, and I think the next guy who got the book said, what the hell is this? And they had a whole legal fight over it because it's a completely ridiculous game. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, Bogues, like, so say you've got like 15 NBA clients, and say, I don't know, your average income is, say, a couple $100,000 on each guy, so you make it like $3 million a year. You might be paying out like $2 million, like not only in expenses, but like paying guys, recruits, like other guys to leave agents. Like, you might be paying out 1.8 or 2.5 or 2.6 on other things like high school kids, college kids, keeping in the mix, and you're not making that money. A lot of football agents do the same thing, where you think they're rolling in it, and yeah, they're collecting commissions on guys and everything, but they're taking that money and they're recruiting other guys. Not only the expenses of flying to places and, dinners and all that stuff, but like actually paying out, paying players. So it's like, yeah, you're making this money, but it's going back out the door to continue to get guys. And then you got to you're not charging him on the rookie deal. You're paying for his trainer. You're paying his mom. You're paying his dad. You're paying this person and that person. And you got to wait 4 or 5 years before you get your money. That's why, yeah, they'll get him in investments, and they'll get him a financial guy, and they'll take, they'll have him take out all these insurance, all these insurances that they don't need because they get kickbacks from the insurance guy to try to recoup some of this money, because a lot of this money comes out for recruiting the next class of people. And then you're not getting paid on all these draft picks. You're not really getting paid for the first 4 or 5 years, and unless you're getting the endorsements. And now you're seeing a lot of these players sign with an agent, but somebody else does my endorsements. Like, that's sort of something that you're seeing a lot more of these days too. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because I read some blog by some financial advisor on the athletes getting defrauded.
Substack or non-Substack?
Non-Substack. This is from a while ago. I want to track the guy down. I stumbled upon it because I became fascinated with this whole KG saga, because I'm reading through it. I remember hearing about it, but I'm just wondering, this seems like something that, this is crazy stuff to me, because you remember that KG and Tim Duncan have that acrimonious dynamic, and you've got KG hugging this guy who defrauded Tim Duncan, and then he gets KG even worse. It just seems like something we should all know about more so. And what the guy was arguing is that this is the system working as intended. The intent is for these guys to come in and be easy pickings for a bunch of other power players. And there's no real incentive. Nobody really cares about preserving their money. And I wonder what Andrew thinks about that. Is this a case of these guys are naive, they're in an unusual circumstance where they're young men, and they're making all this money, and they're gonna get defrauded no matter what? Or is this a larger issue where nobody from the top cares and nobody's really doing anything, and they could be protecting these guys better?
Yeah, it's a fair point, because when I came into the league, being the number 1 pick, even being a top 10 pick, top 20 pick, you got the pressure of then moving to a city. I've spoken about this on my Journey series, because, you move to Milwaukee, I got to now furnish an apartment. I have no fucking idea about, the detail of furnishing apartments, right? Like, so I've got to you think it's just, as a guy, a bachelor, you're like, yeah, I get a bed, a couch, I'm good, right? Like, no, you got to get fucking cutlery, glassware, you got to get bath towels, you got to get linens, you got to get sheets. Like, so I had no idea. So that was enough of a stress for me, right? Then you've got the basketball, then you've got the road trips, then you've got figuring out how to pack your bags so you don't, basically your first 2-3 road trips in the NBA, you've forgotten something, right? So getting in that rhythm, all those distractions, then you've got, okay, you're single, then you've got female distractions, then you've got your family asking for shit. So a lot of guys are just like, you know what, financial guy, you handle that, let me know, blah, blah, blah. I'll check my accounts every now and then. So I get how it gets to that point, because I was one of those guys early in my career, right? I was thankfully on my rookie deal only until I started really, at the end of that rookie deal, started reading my P&Ls and my tax forms and all that kind of stuff. But that's how it goes. And there's some guys that it used to irk me going into financial meetings with my financial guy, and they're using financial lingo, abbreviations and whatnot. I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about half the time. And you feel like an idiot trying to stop, like, hang on a second, what does yield mean? Hang on a second, what does, how do I write that off? What does that mean? Like, I had no idea about it, right? I'm going to be honest. So you end up just sitting there like your head's spinning, and most guys are just like, yeah, are you telling me the money's all in my account? Yep, it sure is. Okay, I'll take your word for it. And that's it, right? But most players don't ever get to a point where, like myself, I'm not talking myself up, but it bothered me not knowing what the fuck they were talking about, because I'm like, this is my money. Like, what if it's not there? I always had that kind of, what if they're lying, right? So I went and did an online course. It's been well publicized. It was actually called Personal Wealth Management, which was perfect. Figured out all the different vehicles you can invest your money, how you get returns, taxes factored in, and it was the greatest thing I ever did. I recommended it to a bunch of my teammates. I don't know if any of them did it, but I recommended it. Said it's awesome. It took me about a year to do, but most players won't do it their whole career, and then they'll retire, and then they'll be like, "All right, let me learn about this." Holy shit, Kevin Garnett, $77 million. I've just realized he stole $77 million. You're just like, dude, that was over the course of 20 years, right? The other one that you've missed, Strauss, that a lot of people forget about, and I don't know if you'd call it fraud, but family, man. Family is the big one.
Yeah.
And that's the one that can't be spoken about publicly. That's the one that's embarrassing, and it strikes a chord in people's souls and hearts. If it's your parents or your brother or your sister or your wife, whoever it is, they're usually the ones that are close enough, other than the financial guy and agent, that cause the most havoc that nobody talks about. It's the family.
Yeah, it's just ugly. It's ugly. I mean, I guess we can talk about it because the Wall Street Journal mentioned it, but they wrote about Kevin Durant and his mom reconciling after something happened involving credit cards. And good luck to them. I think you just obviously want anything to be, you just wouldn't want anything to violate that kind of dynamic, but that's just, you see it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I kept seeing the same thing. I wasn't around the NBA for too long, but I kept seeing the same thing because careers are short. And guy comes in, he's a rookie, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, happy to talk with you. We'll do a bunch of interviews. And then you just see this glimmer kind of fade. And there's something about the NBA, and there's something about the fame and the money and what it reveals in people, the people closest to you, what they will do to you to get it, that just does something to a lot of guys. I mean, it's, in a way, you guys get to experience great things that nobody could ever imagine, and the things that they wish they could. But the other side of it is that I do think you sometimes see ugly sides to humanity that a lot of us are thankfully shielded from.
Yeah, I'd agree. On a daily basis. Go ahead, bro.
No, I just think that, like, most of the players you see in the league, you see like a playful joyfulness when they get drafted into the league. Look, maybe they went to college and, had a decent experience, and they're just sort of enjoying it. And then you look at that same player 3, 4, 5 years. Like, I'll tell you what, talking to Kevin Durant like early in his career and working him out and being around him now or seeing him from afar, it's a lot different. And because he's been through some shit, not only grew as a player, but I'm sure he's seen a lot of people like trying to get at him, a lot of people like going behind his back, a lot of people. And that's not just Kevin Garnett. Kevin Durant. That's a lot of the league. Like they're a lot different. Yeah, they grow up and they get older, but like, I think they just been through the ringer. Women, agents, people trying to get at them, people, fashion designers and stuff trying to design their clothes for, 8,000% markup. This person trying to steal money off them. This investment, this family member. And when they get to the like 4, 5, 6 years in the league, they're a lot different person. Most of them are a lot more closed off. They don't want to be approachable anymore because they know, like maybe day one, they're like, oh, this is great. NBA, money, basketball, you play on TV. And then, and they figure it out that like it's just it beats you up. It kicks you in the nuts every day for year. And not only the pressure of performing, getting another contract, but all these people trying to get at you, that I think it hardens you. It hardens the heart and the soul a lot. And you're just a lot different person. Bogues, what about you, like coming in versus, year 7?
Oh man, it completely changed me. I'm going to be honest. Like there were friends, there were family, there were people close to me that I respected that burnt me. And it all came down to money and how much I can get. Can I get on the Bogut salary train? Can you pay me a yearly salary to do X, Y, Z? And I don't care who you are. I don't care how long you've been in the league. You're never ready to have that hit you in the face where people are literally scheming behind your back, potentially with other friends or family to try and, hey, how can we do this? Or you need to say this and make him, or whatever it is. And I've seen it and heard it all. And I'm sure I'm not, you think you're the only guy it happens to until you talk to other guys. But a lot of times that conversation never starts because of what I said earlier. People are embarrassed because I'm a man, I can run my own shit. But no, I got frauded. So people are scared to talk about it. I'm not. I've been screwed out of money. I've made bad investments, but I've learned from all of them. I won't do it again. And that's kind of the best part about it, the only positive I can get out of it. But man, it's confronting, man. Like, I don't care if you're 19, 20 or 35. It's confronting when people that you really trust right next to you, shoulder to shoulder for years, sometimes decades, they burn you. And I ended up being, obviously, Strauss, you probably both know me as a cynic at times, but I became real cynical because I just trusted nobody. I was like, what does this person want out of me? Are they really talking to me because they just want to say hello and they're nice? And I come to figure later in my career, that's not the right attitude to have neither, because I probably burnt a lot of good people because I had this shell around me, right? And that's the hardest part, man. And I guess I got a bit more freedom once I was strong enough to say no. And that sounds funny, but early in my career, the first 5 or 6 years, I was scared to say no to anyone that was somewhat close to me, even my old friends and acquaintances. If they asked for money or they asked for something or this or that for their family, I'd always try to help in some way or another. When it finally got to a point where I was comfortable with saying no at the potential of losing a relationship, that's when shit really hit me in the face, because I'd say no, and then there were ramifications to that no from their end where they'd be trying to leak stuff to the media, try to break up other relationships I had, try to really do some toxic shit to me. And that's when I was like, holy fucking shit. Like and that's to Pro's point. I came in the league, jolly young fella, college system, and it just goes bang. And then you factor in the individualism of the NBA. Everyone's their own brand. It's not really about the team. Everything you hear in the locker room, family first. When I first came in as a young fella, I'm like, this is awesome. We say family first. It's a family. Yay. and then within 3 months, you're like, what the fuck? This is the complete opposite. And I'm not saying this as a way to shit on the NBA. It's just fact. And you guys have both worked close enough to probably back up what I'm saying, that it's a facade.
No, it's family. It's family from Shameless, but it's family.
Well, the thing you're talking about, I've seen it where a guy is a star and you start noticing when you hang out in the, let's say, hallway at the old Oracle Arena, that there are factions within his entourage who are scheming against one another to be the ones who are going to have the best relationship, and they hate each other and they start talking shit about each other to you. And you're just looking and it's like, dude, your friends are just in this war for your money that I don't even know how aware of you are of it, but this is playing out. It's Game of Thrones amongst your friends and the prize is your wallet.
Yep.
It's so dirty, man. But I am curious about something that I guess it's semi-related and maybe it's too personal. But, you know, you talk about finding people to trust. You talk about having become cynical and jaded. I believe you got married in the middle of your career. Late in your career.
Mm-hmm.
I've met your wife, very normal, nice person. How, when you're a public figure who's making a lot of money, do you meet somebody you can trust like that? You know, how does that come to be?
Well, number one, I had a 10-year rule. I said, look, she's going to deal with my shit for 10 years without even a proposal. We're halfway there. And I implemented that strategy. So we were together for a long, long time. Like we had a few little breakups along the way. I guess it's tough. You got to go through the grind, the ups and the downs and just see. But I guess her nature is kind of the opposite of mine. She's a much calming influence and just, you know, it was always a calm house for me to come home to no matter what my issues were. She was never a Instagram influencer type. No one, I don't think there's even any photos really of her out and about with me or anybody else. And that was something that I was cognizant of. I don't want my kids and my wife in that sphere because I didn't know how to handle it when I first got thrown into that gauntlet. And now I do, but that's not fair to them, especially my children. So I keep that separate, but it is hard. I mean, I give my wife shit still to this day. Like, you know, did you really marry me for me? You know, and she's like starts, fuck you, dickhead. Like, you know what I mean? And that's just me being kind of sarcastic asshole. But yeah, it is hard. And we see, you know, marriages and we see, you know, even I've seen brothers and sisters screw NBA players. I've seen parents, I've seen grandparents, I've seen, you know, and that's the hardest thing to swallow because people won't talk about it and they won't admit it. It's just not something that you can fix. And even if that family member burns you, you're probably going to let them back in your life eventually because they're your family, they're your blood. It's your mum and dad or your grandparents or your brother that you grew up with, right? So whereas if it's a friend, it's much easier to burn. But when it's family, that really strikes a nerve in most people. But just to round this segment off, I guess we've talked about the perils of it all, but give me your opinion, both of you, on what's the fix? How do we fix this problem for these athletes?
Whew. Pro, you take it first, man. I don't know.
Well, the first thing they got to do, shoe companies, because they get the kids first, right? For sure. All these academies they're trying to set up, what have you. Forget about teaching these kids math, science, English, history, right? Yeah, you got to teach them remedial things education-wise. I'm talking about the elite player that you know are going to be NBA players. You got to teach them wealth management, financial literacy has to be at the forefront. And I think of regular people too, but let's just talk about the athlete. Like, because there's so much more information, there's so many more people that can come speak to these kids. And that's the most important thing. One of the most important things is that not how to open up a checkbook. Fuck that. How investments work. How do you invest your money? What are these people going to try to do? All the examples of these fucking shady motherfuckers that are going to come at you. And I mean, even that won't get them ready. But like, there's nothing for these kids. I remember, you know, Joe Boylan, Bogues, that was with you in Golden State. Joe Boylan was an intern with us with the Maine Red Claws in the D League. And like all our guys that we had, and none of them were really NBA players in year one that we had on the team. 99% of them or 95% weren't. But he like set up like a financial literacy class for these guys, making their fucking $121 a month or whatever the fuck we were paying them in the D League. But still, like, at least some type of financial literacy. Like, that's got to be, if I'm running elite grassroots things for any shoe company or any entity, Overtime Elite, the Ignite from the G League, that is what I'm forcing these guys to be able to do, because they need to know. They need to know, and they don't know.
Well,
go ahead.
No. I keep actually interrupting you. I just love that we all know Joe Boylan.
Hey, by the way, fucking asshole, you're bending me over for $99 a year for your fucking Substack. All right, so you when I fucking talk, you listen, asshole, or I'm pulling my investment.
I pay your salary. And Bogut is so jaded and cynical. He's not even going to pay full freight for my subscription after earning over $100.
Hey, look, he got robbed enough money in his career. He doesn't need $99 more from your bullshit that you you fucking,
even after making over $100 million. Well, I guess my only solution would be I think the players union needs to be more aggressive in red flagging fraudsters, because you hear these stories.
Does Substack take an NBA Blue Cross Blue Shield debit card? Because we'll gladly do it.
10 on me.
Yeah, gladly do it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Go ahead, buddy. You got it, buddy.
Yeah. But that was it. Because you hear about guys who are fraudsters being in the mix advising players, and then they might have a court case or two, and then somehow they're right back to doing it again. And it just seems like there's not enough aggression when it comes to red flagging certain shady operators, and that they could have people in place who could be the police of this, is what I'm saying. And they won't get rid of the family stuff, as Andrew's talking about, and they won't get rid of a lot of stuff because it's just such a vast issue. And frankly, I'll be curious to know what people think about all this episode, because I think the response from a lot of people is, who cares, right? Guys handle their money bad. Well, I'd like to have some money to handle bad. I don't really care. Or they might be really interested that it's such a huge problem that it is. But they need to be the ones who are interested in it, because nobody else is going to be. It's got to be the players union. Nobody else is going to care about what's happening to these guys. And they've seemed lackadaisical on it, I would say.
This is the same players union that told us they were building us a brand new state-of-the-art basketball facility in New York. So when guys spend the 3 days or week that they spend in New York in the off-season, they can use it. They built this going into a lockout year. Which I was going bonkers in these meetings, like put my hand up, excuse me, can we build this after the lockout? Can we keep those funds in a pool just in case there's a lockout so we can sustain 2 or 3 months if we have to lock out? Oh no, it's fine, we'll get it done. We've got all these families that will want to rent it out. Then they build this fucking thing. It's not even regulation size. The court's so you're like, what are we doing? Like I called them out as much as I could. I was heavily in the minority and I could see what was going on. Another example, Strauss, is these NBA teams, this is off topic, but these NBA teams build these arenas, right? They build these brand new arenas. They write off the cost of the arena to their annual revenue of the team, right? So I'm asking the union, so those profits are then lessened to our BRI and to our collective bargaining and to our escrow. The team's obviously not making as much as is on paper because $500 million of it's gone towards an arena development. Do we own shares in the arena? No, of course not. Well, do you not see an issue with that? Like they're mitigating their taxes and whatnot because they're writing it off to an arena, but that's coming out of our potential earnings, right? And everyone was like, oh yeah, well shut up, Bogues. So like, all right, cool. So I just kind of let it go. But yeah, it's just an interesting one. The union, I think it needs to be a zero strike policy on agents, financial guys, fraudsters, family members, foundation runners, whoever. One strike and you're out. You're out of the NBA family for life. You're not coming back. Strict protocol. And then number 2, I like Pro's point and yours. Maybe someone in the union, they need to hire a department. Now, this is a hard one because some players won't do it, but where you can get everything, all your potential investors, you get the documentation, which usually is the first step, Strauss. When you have a friend come to you and say, I got this great deal for you to invest in, usually the way I'd flush them out pretty quickly, I'd say, let me see the business plan, and you'd never hear from them again. So that got rid of 80-90%, but let's say that 10% then comes with the business plan and financials. There should be someone in the union that can audit those. That's part of your union fee. We're going to audit that company and those numbers and make sure they're right. But I think players, they become competitive in a locker room. I've got a better investment than player X, and they just don't want to share that information. I think that's a big part of the problem too.
Yeah, Bogues, I think from what I've been told, because we had a lot of clients in Chicago or Grover that dealt with some of these financial guys that were definitely shady, and I think that the Players Association allows you one audit a year or one free audit, but I think that they should audit. I think every player should get their guy or girl audited, and because there's only 500 players, and come on, the money they're fucking stealing, making out of the Players Association, they can definitely get somebody to audit these guys and girls women that handle this money from these players and just make sure they're safe. Look, that's their cash cow. Obviously. So why not put a lot of money behind, a couple of $1 million a year behind?
I'll tell you how that goes, Pro. pro, I'm your financial guy. You come to me and you say, hey, I'm going to get the union to audit you. Damn, bro, like you don't trust me, bro. Like we've known each other for 15 years. Oh, damn, it's like that. What the fuck, man? And then the guys just won't do it. That's the exact conversation.
Yeah, but they can, right? But they can, like, if they're saying, oh, wait a minute, this guy's running my money, I don't really trust him, they can go to the league and get him audited if they want to, and they don't have to hire their own person. But you're right. I definitely agree with you. They don't like confrontation. Unless it's on Twitter, NBA players do not like confrontation. I totally agree.
All right, let's finish that one off. We'll move on from the money bags. We're going to move